Hello everyone, and thank you for attending this presentation. At the beginning of this presentation, I would like to acknowledge the Wiradjuri, Ngunnawal, Gundungurra, and Biripi people of Australia, who are the traditional owners and custodians of the lands on which CSU's campuses are located, and pay respect to their elders, both past and present. Today, I'm talking about my research program at CSU as a theoretical framework here, and then consider the book collecting as a form of serious leisure. So basically, in my research, I try to understand how people engage with various forms of information as part of serious leisure. That I explain in a few minutes what I mean by that, and to what extent their leisure-related information experiences are meaningful and joyful. Because my area of research since I finished my PhD in 2006 at the University of Sheffield was human information behavior. And in information behavior, traditionally, we focused mostly on work-related or academic activities or, educational context, and we somehow overlooked the importance of leisure time. So that's why we need to explore that area more. On the other hand, when you look at the literature, you can see that we focus too much on negative sides of information behavior, like information anxiety, information overload, information poverty, and the list goes on. And we didn't pay much attention to the positive sides. And one of the emerging concepts here is the joy of information. So that's why I focus on the joyful information activities. And then in this presentation, as I said earlier, I reflect on book hunting and bibliophilia as a type of serious leisure. So what is serious leisure? If this is a new term for you, I know it looks a little bit like an oxymoron. It's like an irony. What kind of leisure can be serious, and what if it's leisure, why it's serious, and if it's serious, why it's leisure? This is a term that coined by Dr. Robert Stebbins in 1982, and since then he has been an active researcher in this area and published a lot, and just a few months ago published another book. So he has been working on that, and a number of scholars across the world are working on this topic. And it means all the leisure activities with 6 criteria, something that is the first one is perseverance and commitment. When we have a commitment and passion and dedication to something. So, for example, bird watchers, knitters. And then there is a potentiality to turn into a career. So, for example, at the moment, I'm researching in another project about bonsai growing in Australia. And bonsai growers start as a hobby usually, and some of them, not obviously all, can follow it as a career. So there is always the potentiality in to be a career. And also it should, the third criterion is significant personal effort. So that's the difference between casual leisure and serious leisure. Casual leisure doesn't require significant efforts. For example, walking in a park, watching TV is a kind of a casual leisure. So you don't need to put much effort in that. But for some hobbies and volunteer activities, you need to have some significant personal effort. And basically, we say that serious leisure should be sufficiently challenging and adequately rewarding. So, and it needs some form of knowledge and skills. The fourth criterion is durable personal and social benefits. Research shows that people who participate in serious leisure, they enjoy a wide range of, personal and social benefits, and then they have a unique ethos within their social world. And finally it can form an identity for them. So people know them by that activity. So these are examples of serious leisure, like, coin collecting, stamp collecting, environmental activism, museum visiting, genealogy. And so far, I have done research about a number of serious leisure activities. I have done research about bird watchers, bonsai growers, knitters. And in my first project, I used the maximum variation sampling, and I interviewed people from different kinds. And in another categorization, you can see serious leisure can be done in different forms, like collecting. In this case, is book collecting, and then making, people who make something, or tinkering, car restorations. There are research about that, repairing, or performing, dancing, swimming, competitive hobbies. We have more than 230 kinds of hobbies, so it's very wide, all forms of hobbies. And in terms of collecting, people collect more than 160 kinds of things. It's just in this case book collecting. Interesting enough, just a few days ago, I attended a cultural event in Wagga Wagga. It was about art collecting. They invited 4 professional art collectors, and they talked about their experience. Or it might be outdoor hobbies like horse riding, fishing, or even just observing, like bird watching, photography, or learning. Liberal arts, genealogy. And interestingly, as far as I can tell you here in this, the research that I have done so far, learning is one of the focal points of serious leisure, because there is always something to learn, and learning is one of the main motivation. So, for example, in bonsai growing that I'm researching at the moment, there are so many things they need to learn. Right. So, why serious leisure? There are just 2 more slides about serious leisure, because I need to clarify the framework first, and then I talk about book collecting here. Why serious leisure? Because, as I said earlier, we need to focus on leisure. And leisure is becoming more important. And from a philosophical point of view, this is a difficult question, that whether we work to have enough money and time for leisure, or we having leisure to have time for work. So it's a very important part of our life. And scholars in information science realize we need to broaden our horizon and consider serious leisure. And finally, which is very important, serious leisure is very information rich and information intensive context. So people who are active in serious leisure, they involved in all forms of seeking, searching, browsing, saving, sharing, producing information. And my research shows that the most joyful activity is information sharing, not necessarily because of the significance of the information, but because of the act of sharing, which creates social, connection. And then, so it's, as I said, it brings various forms of personal and social benefits. So that was an introduction about serious leisure and the theoretical framework. Now my argument here is that book hunting is a form of a serious leisure. I would like to begin this part of my presentation referring to one of the books that I read. This is, of course, this is a Persian translation of a book written by Umberto Eco and Jean-Claude Carrière. This is not the end of the book. Probably you know that book. This is a conversation between Umberto Eco and Jean-Claude Carrière. And in one of the chapters in this book, they are talking about people who look for books, not necessarily to read them. just to have them, just to collect them, because the physicality of the book and the joy of finding the book is equal, not equally, but for some people are very important. I wanted to initially I wanted to say equally important as reading it. It's of course an argument, we can talk about it, but having the book, bringing it home, especially when we are interested in some area. And people have different kinds of motivation of book collection. Some people follow just a number of specific topics. Some people follow specific authors. Some people look at first editions. So the list goes on, and people have a wide range of motivation for the book collection. So the other question, which is, I need to be conscious about the time, so I'm not talking too much. One of the main question here is, why do we collect, basically? That's, if we answer this question, then we will be able to answer the question, why do we collect books? There is, again, a large, massive literature about the psychology behind collection. There are different answers for that. For example, in the literature, they say we collect things to find patterns and make meaning. So finding patterns between a number of items and then generating meanings. One of the papers that I read, written by McIntosh and Schmeichel in 2004, they explored, different aspects of collecting as a behavior, and they realized that collecting is a means of personal fulfillment. And by setting up some tangible and attainable goals and providing the collector with a sense of achievement, which is compatible with serious leisure, because collecting is one form of serious leisure. And they identified 8 stages of collecting process. First, they have a goal formation. So they decide what they want to collect. They gather information. That's the part which is very important for me, because I look at serious leisure from information science perspective. Then they have some planning, and then they go for hunting what they want, and they gather what they have found. And then they have lots of things to do after gathering post-acquisition, like display, cataloging, and then they return to a stage 3 or a stage 1 to modify it, and it goes on and on. So that's the whole process. Of course, as I said, the literature is very rich here. I could not include everything here, but you can follow it later on if you are interested. This is one example. In terms of, that's my last slide. I think my time is coming to an end. I believe that the book collection creates possibility for other intellectual activities, such as joining book club, contacting publishers, social interaction with other collectors, and attending cultural events. Again, I remember this book in one of the parts, Umberto Eco said that when people come to my house and they see I have such a big, library, the first question is whether you read the books or not. And obviously I haven't read all of them. And that's the case for everyone who have a big collection. And the point is, we are not supposed to be ashamed of that, because collecting books, having books, is some parts of living with books. Because I believe that I wrote a paper. It's in Persian again, and in that paper, my argument is reading is a form of lifestyle. When people who are interested, passionate about reading and books in general, it's their lifestyle. And then, like other serious leisure participants, book collectors can enjoy a range of personal and social benefits, such as creating knowledge and notion of career and social connectedness. And finally, they also can build a lifestyle around their hobby, enjoy self-actualization and a sense of accomplishment, and develop a strong identity. And that's all I wanted to say. This is just references here. And thank you for your attention. And I'm more than happy to answer your question. And I hope I have done my presentation within the time.